The experimental method. An experiment is a research procedure in which a variable is manipulated and the manipulation's effect on another variable is observed. In fact, most of us perform experiments throughout our lives without knowing that we are behaving so scientifically. Suppose you go to a party on campus to celebrate the end of midterm exams. As you mix with people at the party, you begin to notice many of them becoming quiet and depressed. It seems the more you talk, the more subdued than other guests become. As the party falls apart before your eyes, you decide you have to do something, but what? Before you can eliminate the problem, you need to know what's causing it. Your first hunch may be that something you're doing is responsible. Perhaps your remarks about academic pressures have been upsetting everyone. You decide to change the topic to skiing in the mountains of Colorado and to watch for signs of depression in the next round of conversations. The problem seems to clear up. Most people now smile and laugh as they chat with you. As a final check of your suspicions, you could go back to talking about school with the next several people you meet. Their dark and dismal reaction would probably convince you that your tendency to talk about school was indeed the cause of the problem. You have just performed an experiment, testing your hypothesis about a causal relationship between your topic of conversation and the depressed mood of the people around you. You manipulated the variable that you suspected to be the cause, the topic, and then observed the effect of that manipulation on the other variable, the mood of the people around you. In scientific experiments, the manipulated variable is called the independent variable and the variable being observed is called the dependent variable. To examine the experimental method more fully, let's consider a question that is often asked by clinicians. Does a particular therapy relieve the symptoms of a particular disorder? Because this question is about a causal relationship, it can be answered only by an experiment. That is, experimenters must give the therapy in question to people who are suffering from a disorder and then observe whether they improve. Here the therapy is the independent variable, and psychological improvement is the dependent variable. If the true cause of changes in the dependent variable cannot be separated from other possible causes, then an experiment gives very little information. Thus, experimenters must try to eliminate all confounds from their study's variables other than the independent variable that may also be affecting the dependent variable. When there are confounds in an experiment, they, rather than the independent variable, may be causing the observed changes. For example, situational variables, such as the location of the therapy office, say, a quiet country setting, or soothing background music in the office, may have a therapeutic effect on participants in a therapy study. Or perhaps the participants are unusually motivated or have high expectations that the therapy will work, factors that thus account for their improvement. To guard against confounds, researchers should include three important features in their experiments: a control group, random assignment, and a blind design. Most investigated questions in clinical research. Most common correlational questions. Are stress and onset of mental disorders related? Is culture, or gender or race, generally linked to mental disorders? Are income and mental disorders related? Are social skills tied to mental disorders? Is social support tied to mental disorders? Are family conflict and mental disorders related? Is treatment responsiveness tied to culture? Which symptoms of a disorder appear together? How common is a disorder in a particular population? Most common causal questions. Does factor X cause a disorder? Is cause A more influential than cause B? How does family communication and structure affect family members? How does a disorder affect the quality of a person's life? Does treatment X alleviate a disorder? Is treatment X more helpful than no treatment at all? Is treatment A more helpful than treatment B? Why does treatment X work? Can an intervention prevent abnormal functioning? Is animal companionship a form of therapy? A patient, right, and therapist, left, feed ring-tailed lemurs at Serengeti Park near Hodenhagen, Germany, as part of a monthly program called Psychiatric Animal Days. The program is based on the assumption that animals have a calming and therapeutic effect on people. As many as 400 kinds of therapies are currently used for psychological problems. An experimental design is needed to determine whether this or any other form of treatment causes clients to improve.